really like Psychonauts 2, but I'm kind of bad at it. But the game is actively trying to help me. One of the things I like best about it is that it has a built-in cure for my dumb bitch disease.
I wish I had a Cyclop right now.
Lines like this from the player character or from NPCs are called player nudges, and they are a super important part of the pantheon of game hints. You know, all the subtle or not so subtle ways that games tell you what the hell you're supposed to be doing.
Try moving the slider.
Hints are tricky because in a best case scenario, games trust you to solve problems by yourself. I feel like a dang god when I'm trying to solve a puzzle and something just clicks. But sometimes, you just need help. So there's a gradual escalation of ways that developers can nudge you on how to play from behind the curtain. The most subtle method is something I've seen called subliminal learning or an antipiece, but really it's just good game design. This is when a game foreshadows a difficult challenge by giving you a lower stakes version of it first. There's a quintessential example in the beginning of Super Mario Bros. Before you jump over your very first combined staircase plus bottomless chasm to hell, the game has you practice it with a near identical but non-fatal obstacle. It's an opportunity to build up muscle memory before you have to do the thing for real. The game doesn't signpost that this is your practice zone. It's just there, disguised as an ordinary hurdle in your path. This happens in Dark Souls 2, but not Dark Souls 2. You have a chance to practice your swordplay in this narrow corridor full of absolutely garbage enemies. Oh, and if you turn around, you can see your actual first challenge trudging by through the bars. He's much bigger. Oh no. But if your low intelligence score causes you to miss perception checks like this, games need to be less subtle about signaling where to go and what the hell you're doing there. Some games have a built-in hint system, actual fourth wall breaking text that puts you out of your misery. A chill, no interaction variation of this is tips on loading screens. Mass Effect 2 will give you random tips when you're loading, which a clever player might observe is often just after you've died. Unfortunately, when I see a loading screen, I lose the ability to read. Other games make you pay for your ineptitude. I mean, in Super Mario Odyssey, you can slip Toad 50 coins for a hint on where the next moon is hidden. Similarly, in Okami, you can buy hints from a fortune teller. This is a way of keeping the hints in-world and making sure that they're walled off for players who don't want them. One method I find really interesting is the escalating hint system, which has been around for a long time. In the ancient FMV game, The Seventh Guest, you can keep going back to this library book to get increasingly explicit clues for whatever obtuse puzzle you're stuck on. A similar system appears in There Is No Game Wrong Dimension, a really wild fourth wall breaking puzzler that actively tries to convince you to stop playing it.
I can't close the program myself. You have to quit.
The game is usually fighting you, but it breaks that meta with its hints. Like with The Seventh Guest, you can ask for up to 3 hints with increasing levels of duh. I liked being able to access these hints, but sometimes I found them sort of frustrating. In There Is No Game, by the time I looked at the hints, the first and second ones would be things that I had figured out already, and then the third one would just give me the answer rather than helping me figure it out myself. I needed the hints, but because each puzzle has a static set of hints, one of the challenges for a game designer is gauging how their player is most likely to be stuck. Back in the day, this could be solved over the phone.
Nintendo Gameplay, this is Jenny. How may I help you?
You could call the Nintendo power line and pay actual money to tell a human person what part of A Link to the Past you were stuck on.
Out of all the questions, that's the only one I really can't help you with, because that's the end of the game.
Yeah, I know. I saw the Triforce.
I actually kind of love this. It has all the helpfulness of Reddit, but without the... Now, what if you're too ashamed to ask for help and the game is watching you fail over and over and over again? This is where nudges come in, ideally. Nudges are voice lines that are diegetic to the game, unlike hints that you have to seek out for yourself.
This device doesn't seem to be on.
There's this part very early in Psychonauts 2 where there's this big tooth being flown around. It's a long story, and I got it in my head that this must be a platforming puzzle and I just needed to jump on it at the right time. I tried this. over and over and over again. And then Raz said,
Oh man, I really feel like blasting those tooth fairies.
so that was nice. But sometimes player nudges can be hilariously inept in their execution.
Get up on the hydrant, man!
Nudges usually try not to break the fourth wall, but they come really dang close. Like, I talk to myself, but I'm not out there in my kitchen muttering, flour. I keep that above the stove, don't I? And at their worst, nudges can be condescending. I love Ace Attorney, but I got super peeved when I was playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles because the characters were always telling me what to do and never letting me figure things out for myself. The nudges were an unavoidable part of the regular dialogue that you had to mash A to get through. Psychonauts 2 doesn't totally avoid this problem either. There's this one boss battle that drove me nuts. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the cooking boss battle. In this arena battle, you're trying to cook a meal for these goat puppets out of ingredients that they have puked at you. But the ingredients are covered in purple vomit, making it impossible for me to distinguish the right ones to toss into the tube. The way this rolled out for me is that I would grab a disgusting food blob and realize, oh no, that's not a strawberry. And then my extremely helpful player nudging NPC buddy would say,
Seems like the sous chef has picked up the wrong ingredient.
Put that down, you'll spoil the dish. We don't need one of those right now. Why are you playing with that? I don't want that.
Why is he picking up the wrong ingredient, I wonder?
and I would die inside. All of the food blobs looked the same to me when they were covered in vomit. And if I picked up the wrong one, I had to clumsily spin around and whiff it out into space, because God forbid I accidentally throw it at the judges and hear,
You need to serve the judges, chef, not attack them.
The whole time I had understood the assignment, but the game wasn't helping me figure out how to tell these vomit blobs apart, which is something I would have loved to learn from a player nudge. In the best moments of Psychonauts 2, I know how to play because the developers have invisibly told me what to do. But when I fail to understand that, is it my fault? Is it the game? Or is it a combination of both? What I do know is that I was like 10 hours into the Great Ace Attorney before the game let me risk misunderstanding it. And that felt terrible. I'd much rather fuck around and find out. And Psychonauts 2's vocal nudges give me the chance, even though sometimes it feels like they're covering up a design flaw. Tell me which of these is a strawberry, honestly. Tell me. Most of the nudges have helped me be better at Psychonauts 2 when I was the problem holding me back. Frankly, I need the help.